Right now we've got all these dramatic polarized degrees of lifestyle. And I don't want to see it in China, I don't want to see it in America, I don't want to see it in Canada. I'd like everybody to be fair. And the way we're developing technology with robotics and AI, maybe we can, by God, maybe we can actually do it and make this kind of a beautiful world to live in.
Yeah.
But I think we need to see that although we're different, we are different. We've got a lot of differences in our cultures and stuff like that. We are all human beings. We are all humans, and we've all got these like hyper capable minds that if we start to like shift our ideology to one of unity, we could probably do some cool stuff.
James and Justin here, your favorite spiritual analysts and all things culturally relevant. And I think the big thing that has been in the news this week has been everything that's going on with the United States and China and tariffs, and how he lowered tariffs dramatically on most of the countries around the world, but left them up on China because China fought back. And then, you know, China's raised their tariffs, and everyone's putting new rules in, and it's constantly changing. But we're going to take a look at this news report done by CBC it's within the last 24 hours. And it's just talking about some of the memes that have been going around and some of the news regarding these tariffs. And then we're going to give you our take on it. The meme war.
Be it this AI-generated video floating around social media in China derisively depicting future American workers slowly making what's now assembled in China.
Behavior protocols engaged.
Or this Chinese government video billed as a sci-fi thriller with a robot named Tariff.
Aggressive tariffs implementing now.
Enacting U.S. tariffs that hurt the U.S.
Unemployment rates rising. Cost of living increasing.
Or if that's not enough, this AI image posted by China's foreign ministry, meant to mock U.S. President Donald Trump and highlight what all Americans may pay for Trump's tariffs, what China now calls Trump's economic bullying. On state TV in Beijing, retaliation. Word China is now ratcheting up its tariffs on American goods to 125%. That's after Trump upped U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods to 145%. The trade war between those two countries now raging.
The president has made it very clear he's open to a deal with China.
At the White House, Trump was said to be, quote, optimistic a deal with China can be struck. But on those fresh Chinese tariffs,
the president made it very clear when the United States is punched, he will punch back harder. And he hopes to make a deal that benefits the American worker and our companies that have been ripped off for far too long.
Trump himself with this post on social media. We're doing really well on our tariff policy. Very exciting for America and the world. U.S. stocks ended the week on an up note, though still lower than before Trump's global tariffs were announced April 2nd. Meanwhile, word from the European Union. If the U.S. doesn't ease up, it too will push back.
We will have to defend our economy, we will have to defend our companies, and also come with countervailing measures.
And on that, said the EU, the European Union is firmly united. Erica.
And Paul, it seems U.S. consumers aren't sharing the same optimism about the economy as the Trump administration.
Yeah, we now have the latest Consumer Sentiment Index by the University of Michigan, kind of a measure of feelings on the economy, leadership, a whole bunch of things. Bottom line is that it's now fallen to its lowest point since the worst of the pandemic, and it's the second lowest reading since the index began in 1952. Americans expect unemployment to go up and likewise prices. And by the way, sentiment dropped steeply for both Democrats and Republicans. Among independent voters, it is now lower than at any point in the presidency of Joe Biden. Not good numbers for Donald Trump, Erica.
Indeed. Thanks for this, Paul Hunter in Washington.
Thanks for this bad news message. I would say don't let yourself get caught up in it, but just try to see it from an outside perspective. It's easy to take sides. It's easy. I could get all worked up and worried about the things that are going on in the world, but I see it as more fascinating. I actually thought it was interesting that China had those ads that they were like kind of placing out, letting their people see kind of like a different perspective on things, and having, changing your perspective, trying to see it through a positive lens. Like, there's many ways you could see it. You could see it through a negative way, which I won't get into, or you could see it as like, this opens for new opportunity. I like the fact that we live in a world now where there's two superpowers, and one doesn't necessarily have to bow its knee to the other one. It may change the way that the whole world works, having more equality out there rather than one country that's pretty much pushing the rest of the world around, having two countries with a little bit of pull, because I heard just today that Trump lowered the tariffs from China on all the tech coming out of there, which is pretty much the most important stuff that they're buying, like cell phones and all this stuff. They've dropped the tariffs, I think, completely, if that's the last news that I got is correct on that. So having these two superpowers out there kind of working things might bring more stability, might bring more options. There's lots of ways to kind of like look at this as a positive thing. And then if China can sell its products to some of the other countries that are more affected by Trump's tariffs, maybe that eases things, and that lowers the bullying method from the United States. I don't know. You're quiet, and I know you're thinking about this. What do you want to add?
Well, what are we doing here? I'm not here to like make some impressive point so that you're impressed and you should listen to more things that I say because you're impressed at my opinion. That's not what I'm trying to do. I don't want to scramble to some answer. So instead, I'm going to throw a thought smorgasbord at you. And some of this is going to be loose and not quite accurate. You know how they showed them ringing the bell? Ding, 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 ding. Because the stock market went up, even though it's lower than it usually had been. But nevertheless, they're celebrating with a bell. I had this dream one time where Duncan Trussell, I think, made an appearance in my dream. And he was like, don't ring the bell. And then I was like, why did I dream that? And then I'm pretty sure this is a part where it gets dicey. I thought I found a clip of him talking about ringing the bell. And he said, in cancer recovery, and all my sympathy, I've lost somebody to cancer, and I know people have gone from it. But in cancer recovery, sometimes they call it ringing the bell, I think, when you defeat it or something. But in this dream, and when I looked into it, Duncan Trussell was like, they have this thing called ringing the bell. And I can't remember precisely what it was said, but it was like, don't be so quick to ring the bell. And they're ringing the bell. And we want to scramble to be like, oh, it means this means this, and that means this. I would say that's one thing that you should not be swift to do. It's synonymous with foolishness to be swift about things. They show that AI stuff. So it's not that hard to create AI, realistic AI videos now. And the fact that their government made this video showing Americans in sweatshops.
Did they say it was a government?
I thought one of them they said was the government produced an ad or something like that. But whoever produced it, it came from China, right? Yeah. And it shows the Americans in sweatshops doing their thing. But how many decades or how long has it been that there's been really no middle class in America? Like the divide is pretty far and wide in many parts of America where there's like the elite rich and then there's people that are living pretty low means. Is that a reality, or am I out of my mind here?
Well, they have a middle class in the United States. The standard of their middle class, though, is lower than a lot of other Western countries.
What I'm getting at is there's probably plenty of Americans and Canadians that are like, that is me. I am overweight. First of all, how am I in a sweatshop and overweight at the same time? But it happens because they're feeding you McDonald's ads every break and cigarette break you got at your thing. But there's got to be people thinking that is already my life. I'm already a factory worker for pennies. It's been like that. You know what I mean? What's the point of this thing? Like that still happens in developed countries.
Yeah.
And I understand that you're saying you missed the point. They're saying that that's going to be all of you. Well, if it already is the case, but not everybody does it, that's just saying something. I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to quickly double back to the ringing the bell thing. I'm not saying it's bad to celebrate. I'm not saying it's bad to like win an award or win at something or appreciate that. But something about being quick to resolve that something is settled and we're all happy now is synonymous with can be synonymous with foolishness because it's diluted.
Everything's always in flux, right? There's a constant
It's just
shifting,
not
right?
even a matter of that. Sometimes things that seem like horrible end up being the gift of your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes things that you try really hard because you believe it'll fix your life end up being a horror nightmare that you wish you never thought of dreaming up in the first place.
Yeah.
And you don't make that into a religion. Don't go and like do something based on that. Just let it resonate till it melts every diluted individual characteristic about you. Every part of you that's like, no, I'm separate and I'm me and I like being a me that's separate and doing this thing. Just let it murder that part of you till you're catatonic. Allow yourself to be a little catatonic sometimes. And that might seem crazy and frightening, but swiftness won't save you. It'll just hamster wheel you harder into your whole life passing you by. Okay. I say all that, and then I think about Trump, and I'm trying to humanize him here because there's a lot of there's people that love him and there's people that hate him.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm trying to empathize with Trump for a sec here. He was a game show host for a good chunk of my memory. You remember The Apprentice? Yeah. It was like a game show, and we went to Atlantic City when I was a kid, and he owned a casino. He was like a casino owner. Casinos ruin people sometimes, but fat cat with a casino. But he's a businessman, and he's been successful in business, and then he really he did the American dream best. He actually became president. You know how many people when they're little, I'm going to be president one day. He did it. He climbed from businessman to president. And I know, I'm not trying to dismiss that he had help probably from wealthy family or something like that. I'm just saying he's living the American dream. And when you've got people that are like, we love you, you're the savior, and you start saying things back like, I will not abandon you, I will protect you, your ego is all of a sudden like galactic. And you're like, I'm the savior of the world, is what he's thinking. Mm-hmm. Must be, as that, because people are making him a Christ unto them. I've seen people combine Christianity with Trump and make some weird Trump hybrid.
What a difference
religion.
Between, say, someone like Donald Trump, who's got this one mega power, and then Xi Jinping, who's like always stoic and totally like, just quiet and together. You hardly ever hear the guy speak.
Well, different cultures. Trump is appealing to the American people. There's whole subcultures of people where you're rude if you're not rude. Yeah. What is with you? Where's your swear words and where's your put some bass in your voice? What are you? You're offending me. That's the culture. So by and large, the way Trump talks appeals to the sentiments of if he's getting the most votes, if democracy is really happening here, then it's because he appeals to their mentality. And it's a culture. That's just a culture, but it's getting diluted the more we all get together and mix. As a closing note, I'll just say, I happen to think that if everything went right with humanity, it eventually will likely lead to a one world government. If everything went right, I would like to see that happen. It's not going to be overnight. Don't try to make it overnight. To me, that would be swiftness and craziness. It's probably a multi-generational program. Project. But I do think that would be the sign from space if higher intelligence was looking on us. Oh, they became one thing and they're actually doing it peacefully and their quality of life is good. Right now, we've got all these dramatic polarized degrees of lifestyle. And I don't want to see it in China. I don't want to see it in America. I don't want to see it in Canada. I'd like everybody to be fair. And the way we're developing technology with robotics and AI, maybe we can, by God, maybe we can actually do it and make this kind of a beautiful world to live in.
Yeah.
But I think we need to see that although we're different, we are different. We've got a lot of differences in our cultures and stuff like that. We are all human beings. We are all humans and we've all got these like hyper capable minds that if we start to like shift our ideology to one of unity, we could probably do some cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, you shared your final message. My final message on it is that I brought this up because there's multiple perspectives, lots of ways you can look at it. A lot of social media and doom scrolling paints a picture that this is something that you need to be afraid of. And I'm saying, I don't think you need to be afraid of. I think look and marvel at all the possibilities of where this can take us. We collectively, hopefully we can create something that, like you said, works out for everyone across the globe, that we can find our way through this, whatever, if you want to call it a turbulent time right now, this can lead into a new era where maybe countries like China and the United States find some common ground, and it like levels the prosperity field so we don't have factory people sweating, so people aren't, doing things that they don't want to be doing. It allows opportunity for a new and a better world. So we're going into uncharted waters. It's fascinating, and I think it'll be interesting to see where it all goes. But anyway,
one last PS. Sure. Sorry. I'm not trying to get final word. I just think it's important because some people really, the situation they're in, they're like, way to make fun of me, a-hole. I have to have a job like that. There are situations in life where you really have no choice. Like, South Korea, what is it? North Korea?
I don't know. Yeah, North Korea.
So North Korea is like a giant, like a concentration camp or whatever. You know what I mean? Like we could help those people out. If we all get together, the rest of the countries, we can like liberate and help them maybe. But I'm saying there's situations that you really can't get out of, and then there's situations where it really seems like you can't get out of it, but there is options for you. There is an option to get out of certain situations. It just takes looking at it a little differently. Be careful not to assume you're stuck sometimes when you're not.
All right, we'll end it there, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone till next time, stay spiritual.